we have this group called the Anakim. It's probably the most famous of them. And you see, first I want to go through the promise that Moses tells the children of Israel, that why they are being given the land and why they have to war for it. It says in Deuteronomy 9:12, as Israel's about to cross the Jordan, it says, you will dispossess nations greater and mightier than you, cities great and fortified up to heaven, a people great and tall, the sons of Anakim, whom you know, and whom you have heard it said, who can stand before the sons of Anak? So it's showing them as great stature, but like we said multiple times, it's not necessarily that they are just giant in stature. If you're thinking about it, a good one, someone who accomplished many great things and was larger than life, Hitler, but he was horrible, right? He's a giant. He fits the tyranny that we're talking about here. So who were the Anakim?
He's like a Nimrod II or something like that.
Yes.
In a bad way, giant.
Yes, absolutely, in a horrible way, right? So what are the Anakim? They were descendants of a man named Anak. He had 3 sons, and I'm not going to be able to pronounce these properly. Seshai, Ahiman, and Talmai. And you see that in Joshua 15:14 and Judges 1:10 and 20. Joshua later devotes them to destruction, but he leaves a few out. Like, he doesn't get it out of all of the land of Canaan. The places that are left over is the place surrounding Gaza, the place surrounding Gath, and the place surrounding Ashdod, which is that section right now, the Gaza Strip, and a little bit north of the Gaza Strip. If we're looking at historical, if you're looking at the maps. So
since he left few, not just in Gaza, but also in Gath, and we see that Goliath is coming from this place, from this location and tribe, and he's descendant of Anak. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to speculate, but I'm just wondering, what if Joshua devoted to destruction, all of them would Goliath came to be later and come to provoke Israel, and David to come and deal with him. I don't know. It's just an interesting speculation. What if?
Well, like we talked about, Saul's failure to participate fully in harem when it comes to Gigantomachy, and that his story, the Benjamin story, has a redemption arc that goes all the way to the book of Esther with Haman and Mordecai. I think the same thing goes here, is that that's the preach side of it. How do you apply it? What they left, what Joshua left uncompleted, the next generation or the generations after have to finish, right? Which is why you see David having to fight Goliath, is because the job was not complete. Israel's participation in Gigantomachy, the way that God wants them to participate, had not been complete yet. So I think that you're right. If Joshua would have done it, there would be no need for what occurred with Goliath and David, because there would be no Goliath. So that's a really good question, though.
Yeah, and I just want to add that Caleb, who came right after Joshua, he finished this work. So he drove out the rest of the Anakim from Hebron. We see this in later chapters of Joshua, like 14, 15, Judges 1. And then in Numbers 13:33, we see that these sons of Anak are coming from the Nephilim, which is just another indicator, another evidence that we're not inventing these stories just because we like giants and vague fringe topics. No, we're trying to do a proper biblical theology by assessing not just the biblical text in Hebrew and dissect these meanings, but also cross-reference them with other verses. And occasionally we mention scholars like this Eastern Orthodox priest and their podcast, Lord of Spirits, or like sometimes when we quote what Dr. Heiser is saying. So again, this is very interesting to follow this thread when it comes from Genesis to the rest of the Pentateuch, so the first books of the Torah, of the Old Testament, and then even later what we'll be reading from this historical narrative. So by saying that, we're done with this section of the Anakim, who are again just the tribe of Nephilim, coming in Numbers 13.